so this is not pointed in the right place. So annoying. I feel like the mic drifts on its own. Measure, make sure it's the right distance from my face. I have to redo an entire day of narrating today because my mic was too far from my face. Woo. Just point it at my mouth. Close enough. Welcome to Bite. Oh, wow. I forgot to warm up. Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, Behind the Story, where we answer the questions you have about your favorite classic authors. What inspired your favorite author to write their novels? What was going on in the world at the time? Follow along with us as we tell you what was happening in the world while your favorite authors wrote your favorite classics. My name is Bree Carlisle, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. Today is actually going to be a special episode. This is our final episode of the Behind the Story podcast. You guys are loving the books podcast, and we're going to go back to doing a little bit of an intro at the beginning of each book into the life of the author and into behind their story. So thank you so much for listening, and farewell. Today, we'll be talking about Norfolk, which is another of the locations Jane Austen used, inspired in her story. The final episode. We're 24 episodes in. It's just, this one's not getting as many listens, and the episode lengths vary so much. So we're going to do away with this one and go back to... Before I started this one, I was doing a little intro at the beginning of the books. I'm going to go back to doing that. Story. Norfolk is... Story. Norfolk is a rural and non-metropolitan county in East Anglia in England. Norfolk is the fifth largest ceremonial county in England with an area of 5,371 kilometers or 2,074 square miles. It borders miles. I swallowed funny. Miles. It borders Lincolnshire to the northwest, Cambridgeshire to the west and southwest, and Suffolk to the south. Its northern and eastern boundaries are the North Sea and to the northwest, the Wash. The county town is the city of Norwich, with an area of 2,074 square miles, or 5,370 kilometers, and a population of 400,000. Norfolk is a large... kilometers. And... dang it. I always start too soon. Kilometers. And a population of 859,400. Norfolk is a largely rural county with a population density of 401 per square mile, or 155 per kilometer. Of the county's population, 40% live in four major built-up areas: Norwich, 213,000, Great Yarmouth, 63,000, King's Lynn, 46,000, and Thetford, 25,000. The Broads is a network of rivers and lakes in the east of the county, extending south into Suffolk. The area is protected by the Broads Authority and has similar status to a national park. Okay. Trying to see what else I'm going to read. Oops, clicked on something. Okay. Park. The area that was to become Norfolk was... words. Let me get a drink. perfect temperature.
Park.
The area that was to become Norfolk was settled in pre-Roman times. There were Paleolithic settlers as early as 950,000 years ago, with camps along the higher land in the west where flints could be quarried. A Brittonic tribe, the Iceni, emerged in the 1st century BC. The Iceni revolted against the Roman invasion in AD 47 and again in 60, led by Boudicca. The crushing of the Second Rebellion opened the area to the Romans. During the Roman era, roads and ports were constructed throughout the area and farming was widespread. Situated on the east coast, the homelands of the Iceni were vulnerable to attacks from continental Europe and other parts of Britain, and forts were built to defend against raids by the Saxons and the Picts. A period of depopulation, which may have been due to these threats, seems to have followed the departure of the Romans. Soon afterward, Germanic people from the North Sea area settled in this region. Though they became known as Angles, they were likely not affiliated to any tribe in particular at the time of their migration. It is thought that the settlement here was early, possibly beginning at the start of the 5th century, thereby preceding the alleged date of Hengist and Horsa's arrival in Kent, and that occurred
in Kent.
And that it occurred on a large scale. Slightly too big. I can't read the right side of the page. There we go.
Scale.
By the 5th century, the Angles had established control of the region and later became the Northfolk and the Southfolk, hence Norfolk and Suffolk. Norfolk, Suffolk, and several adjacent areas became the Kingdom of East Anglia, one of the Heptarchy, which later merged with Mercia and then with Wessex. The influence of the early English settlers can be seen in the many place names ending in ham, Ingham, and Tun. Endings such as by and Thorpe are also fairly common, indicating Danish toponyms. In the 9th century, the region again came under attack, this time from Danes who killed the king Edmund the Martyr. Several place names around the Fenland area contain Celtic.
Martyr.
Several place names around the Fenland area contain Celtic elements. This has been taken by some scholars to represent a possibly significant concentration of Britons in the area. In the centuries before the Norman conquest, the wetlands of the east of the county began to be converted to farmland, and settlements grew in these areas. Migration into East Anglia must have been high. By the time of the Domesday Book survey, it was one of the most densely populated parts of the British Isles. During the High and Late Middle Ages, the county developed arable
Isles.
During the High and Late Middle Ages, the county developed arable agriculture and woolen industries. Norfolk's prosperity at that time is evident from the county's large number of medieval churches. Out of an original total of over 1,000, some 659 have survived, more than in any other county in Britain and the greatest concentration in the world. The economy was in decline by the time of the Black Death, which dramatically reduced the population in 1349. Kett's Rebellion occurred in Norfolk during the reign of Edward VI, largely in response to the enclosure of land by landlords, leaving peasants with nowhere to graze their animals, and to the general abuses of power by the nobility. It was led by Robert Kett, a yeoman farmer who was joined by recruits from Norwich and the surrounding countryside. His group numbered some 16,000 by the time the rebels stormed Norwich on July 29, 1549, and took the city. Kett's rebellion ended on August 27th when the rebels were defeated by an army under the leadership of John Dudley, 1st Duke of Northumberland, at the Battle of Dissendel. Some 3,000 rebels were killed. Some 3,000 rebels were killed. Kett was captured, held in the Tower of London, tried for treason, and hanged from the walls of Norwich Castle. By the late 16th century, Norwich had grown to become the second largest city in England, but over 1/3 of its population died in the plague epidemic of 1579. And in 1665, the Great Plague again killed around 1/3 of the population. During the English Civil War, Norfolk was largely parliamentarian. The economy and agriculture of the region declined somewhat. During the Industrial Revolution, Norfolk developed little industry except in Norwich, which was a late addition to the railway network. Early military units included the Norfolk Militia. In the 20th century, the county developed a role in aviation. The first development of
Aviation.
The first development in airfields. I don't know where I am.
Aviation.
The first development in airfields came with the First World War. There was then a massive expansion during the Second World War with the growth of the Royal Air Force and the influx of the American USAAF 8th Air Force, which operated from many Norfolk airfields. The local British Army regiments included the Royal Norfolk Regiment, now the Royal Anglican Regiment, and the Norfolk Yeomanry. During the Second World War, agriculture rapidly intensified, and it has remained very intensive since, with the establishment of large fields for growing cereals and oilseed rape. Whatever that means. Okay, let's into that.
Oilseed rape.
Thank you for joining. Too soon.
Oilseed rape.
Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story today, while we answered some of the questions you have about one of your favorite classic authors. Again, this is our final episode, but thank you so much for joining us every Tuesday. Our show is part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you would like to continue to hear stories by authors and a little bit behind their story, be sure to check out the Bite at a Time Books podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Right now, we are reading Emma. Again, my name is Bree Carlisle, and I hope you come back.
Carlisle.
And I hope you continue to listen to our Bite at a Time Books podcast. We'll be starting a new book soon. That was definitely on the fly editing that thing. All right. Yeah, so we're 24 episodes in. It's just, I like to keep going, but like the Bite at a Time Books podcast is doing well, better than I ever thought it would. And so I'd like to kind of put my focus into that. So the first couple books that I did, or seasons, whatever you want to call them, I didn't really do behind the story. I started that, I don't remember. And then I did that, and then I was like, oh, we should make this its own thing. But my next book that I want to do is a book series, and I want to be able to do the whole series, and I don't think I can keep behind the story going for a whole series straight in a row. Or I may do like one book and another, like flip-flop. Because I know like around Halloween I want to do a specific book, so I'll probably kind of flip back and forth between the series and then do another book and then do another one series, whatever. Anyways, at the end of the day, this was my second podcast, but now I have a third, and I'm keeping the ones that are doing good. And while this gets, 2 to 3 listeners a day, that's not, I don't know. It probably could grow. I just feel like I need to put my focus into what is doing well. And right now that is my other 2 podcasts. So, this is the last episode. Thank you guys for sticking around, and be sure to check in because I will still be doing the Bite at a Time books. Gonna read a chapter of Emma now. And once I finish this book, I will be starting a very well-known series that you will love.